Hey everybody, welcome to our video training series, 6 Keys to the Pass List. How to move from failure to success so that you can go ahead and make the next bar exam your last bar exam. My name is Jackson Mumey and I am the founder of Celebration Bar Review. For the past 30 years, I've helped thousands of repeat bar takers to pass their bar exam, to move from failure to success on the exam. People from all walks of life, from all parts of the world, people just like you. And I'm really excited to have you with us as we go through these training videos around how you move from failure to success. The basis of our training video series was a report that was done recently for the New York Board of Law Examiners by a group called Access Lex Institute. This was a study of first and second time bar candidates on the New York UBE exam. It was a 2-year study covering July 16th through February 2018. And what makes it unique is that it is a comprehensive statistical study that also includes a great deal of discussion and focus group information. So it's one of the first times that we really have a study that focuses on how people move from failure into passing. And we thought that the findings from this report were so significant that we needed to share them with you in this series of training videos. We've identified from the report 6 reasons why people fail the bar exam. And in previous videos, we've looked at 4 of those: not having enough time to study, poor quality of study, not allocating your time properly on the exam, having negative study experiences. And today we're going to look at what I would describe as a deficient law school experience. It's one of our 6 reasons for failure. If you didn't get the right kind of training in law school, it can have an impact. And then in our final video, we'll look at some external factors, the 6th of our reasons for failure. Along with those reasons for failure, obviously, we want to look at what you have to do to change that in order to get on the pass list. And again, in previous videos, if you've not had the chance to watch them, we've talked about how to increase your study time, how to improve the quality of your study time, how to improve your time management on the exam, and how to find positive experiences with what you've done previously. In today's video, we're going to talk about how you can make the most out of your law study if you're still in school, and even if you're not still in law school, how to extract from that law school experience the information that you need. And then again, in our final video, we'll look at external factors. So we are looking today at key number 5, which we describe as eliminate unnecessary extras. I put a picture up of a bag of rocks because I think so many bar takers carry that big bag of rocks around with them all the time. There's so many unnecessary extras that you get in law school and in your legal training that really don't help you on the bar exam. And this study actually identified several of those for us. So let's jump right in. The first thing I think we have to understand is that a lot of people waste their time when it comes to law school and the bar exam and how they prepare. What the study found was that completing elective courses in the bar-tested subjects was not strongly associated with bar exam passage. Let me say that again. If you took courses in law school that were for bar subjects, it was not strongly associated with bar exam passage. I think that's significant because if you didn't take those courses, you're not at any disadvantage. And I hear this all the time from people who say, I didn't study whatever that bar subject was in school, I must be at a deficit or behind. And the answer is, statistically, you're not. It probably was a waste of time to take a course just for the bar exam when you were in school. When the study went further in looking at this idea of statistical association, they identified specific courses that people always talk about as being important for the bar, and what they discovered was that when it came to bar passage, in all of these subjects and more, there was no statistical association. So if you struggled through corporations or business associations or constitutional law, thinking that it was going to help you on the bar exam, actually, it doesn't. There's no way that taking that class improved. In fact, people that took those classes did not do better on the bar exam than people that did not. In addition, and I thought this was particularly interesting, the number of courses that you took about the bar exam was not statistically associated with bar passage either. So it wasn't just specific courses, but even the number that you took had nothing to do with whether you passed the bar. So if you've been living under the burden, carrying the bag of rocks, that you didn't study enough in the bar subjects, I think you can get rid of that. We know statistically it just doesn't make any difference at all. And so therefore, it's not something that you need to be worried about. Now, what if you did take those classes in law school? Okay, you took them. It's not going to help you, it didn't hurt you, but there you go, and it's done now. There's another finding that I thought was particularly significant here, and it really goes to the heart of the law school experience and the bar exam. 25% of the respondents in this survey indicated that when they were in law school, they took a bar prep course. You understand those kinds of courses. They're usually required in law schools that give them. They are taught by someone, as we described in an earlier video, who is not a professor or a tenured teacher. They're almost always an under or unemployed graduate of that law school, and they are recycling the traditional standardized bar prep courses. And 25% of the people that sat for the bar took one of these courses when they were in school. It's interesting that the study found 91% of the people that took those courses thought they were at least somewhat helpful. That's not glowing praise necessarily, but at least 91% of the people thought there was some value to taking the course. And that's what the law schools will tell you and why they'll tout the value of these courses. But here's the key finding that you haven't heard. There was no statistical correlation with bar passage and taking these courses. In other words, there was no difference between the people that took a law school bar prep course and the people that did not take a law school bar prep course. No difference whatsoever, a 0% statistical correlation. So if you took one of those courses in law school, okay, good. If you didn't take one, again, there's no deficit. You're not behind at all. You didn't lose anything. And if you're still in law school and you're thinking, should I take one of these courses? The answer is no, you really shouldn't. They don't add anything. And if you could use your tuition dollars for courses that are more interesting to you and more valuable to you, you should absolutely do it. Why do 91% of the respondents think the course is somewhat helpful? The problem is they don't know what they're looking at yet. And essentially, they're just getting the basic elements of a standardized big box bar review, but not taught by the professionals, not taught by the people that really know the material. And so their perspective on what they think it should be versus what the real value is, I think is somewhat skewed. But again, the real number to understand is that this does not correlate with bar passage at all. That's kind of a stunner, isn't it? When we talk about standardized bar prep, because these law school bar prep courses are built on that same model, they're just recycling the books and lectures of those courses, I think we need to take a deeper dive onto what standardized bar prep does, particularly for 3Ls and people coming out of law school. And one of the things that the survey came up with was a series of statements from participants about their standardized bar prep experience. Here's a little bit of what they had to say. There was just too much information to learn. Standardized bar prep just gave them way too much to try and absorb. And what the report said was that candidates experienced anxiety and difficulty due to the lack of familiarity with so many subjects. Because they were trying to get it all in a very short period of time, typically 7 or 8 weeks, they just couldn't get all that information built in. I'll show you what the solution is to that in a minute. Another finding with respect to standardized bar prep was that the material was overwhelming. That for many participants and applicants, they had to study so many subjects at once. They were on this forced march of subjects through a short period of time that it was just overwhelming. And again, they weren't able to absorb the material. And finally, this idea of condensed learning that the standardized bar prep courses used, the finding was that learning condensed material in a short time was what they called a notable challenge. You think? It's an incredible challenge. It's very difficult to do because the human brain isn't wired to learn that way. It's wired to learn through repetition over a longer period of time. So this standardized 7-week, 8-week bar prep course is a walking disaster. And we know that statistically. We know that the pass rates have fallen, and most of those people are the people that take standardized bar prep. So if you took a standardized bar prep and you weren't successful, stop blaming yourself. A big part of it is that you were taking a course and a structure that just wasn't well designed for the challenges of the current bar exam. So I think the real question to ask right now is, what does make a difference in law school? If you're in school, this is an important discussion. If you are out of school, it's really still important because it tells you what you can extract from that previous experience. So let's take a look at that. I think that there's a path to go through your studies in order to get to the goal of becoming a member of the bar. And I'm going to suggest several steps that every bar taker has to go through. The first of these would be taking core courses in law school. These are basic subjects but without an emphasis on bar-specific topics. As we saw, there was no correlation between a bar-specific topic and passing the exam. So just taking good, competent core courses that help you understand the concepts of legal reasoning is an important step to take. I describe this as the curriculum path, and if you think about what good law school curriculum should look like, specifically with respect to how people can pass the bar, I think it's got three elements to it. The first is that there is this core curriculum that we've just described, and the purpose of the core curriculum is not so much to teach you the law of these subjects, but it's to help you understand the fundamentals of legal reasoning. So, if you've already graduated from law school and you've not been successful on the exam, one of the things you want to go back to thinking about from your core curriculum in law school is, what are the fundamentals of legal reasoning? How did you learn to apply the law to the facts? What did you discover about legal reasoning? That's the start of the funnel of curriculum. Then the second step is to take skills courses. What this means in a law school setting is the implementation of your legal reasoning. As you begin to understand the fundamentals, how do you implement it? And that comes in skills courses where you learn to write and you learn to go through mock trial and you get involved in clinics and you start to apply some of this core curriculum. So that's the second step in our curriculum path. And then the third step is specialization, learning to have specialized application of that legal reasoning for the subjects and the law practice areas that you're interested in. That curriculum path, going from a large core curriculum through the skills and into specialization, is what seems to have the greatest impact on people being successful on the bar exam. If you get stuck at one of those higher levels, it's tough to keep moving through and to get the skills and ultimately the specialization that you need. So that's what we think should have been happening in law school. If it happened to you that way, great. If it didn't, go back and rethink the process and see what you can extract in terms of fundamentals, implementation, and then specialized application. So that's the first step on our journey. The second step, though, is to have writing classes. Every law student takes some writing classes, either by design or inadvertently because you have to write essays and do papers. But specifically, having writing classes that help you practice all forms of legal writing is particularly important. And for those of you that are LLMs and foreign trained attorneys, making sure that you get good writing classes in your LLM program is absolutely critical in order to be successful. Let's take a deeper dive on what those writing classes should look like. In our view, there are really three sets of skills you need to master in order to prepare for the bar exam. The first is you need to understand the fundamentals of legal research. You just need to understand how law is created and how you find the law so that you have some conception of what it is you're doing with that information. So that's our broadest level, legal research. Then you need to understand how to write objectively. This is the objective memo, and this is really great preparation for bar essay writing. Writing objective memos is not the same as writing an exam answer in law school. Exam answers in law school are built on issue spotting. That's not what we're doing here. What we're doing is to look at the actual conflicts or disputes and being able to write about those in a clear and concise way. That kind of objective legal writing skill is one of the most important skills you can get in school. And if you didn't get it in school, there are ways to get it in bar prep, but we want to make sure that you've got that skill before you take the exam. And then finally, there's what we think of as the persuasive document. This is the preparation that helps you in large part with performance tests because they have a persuasive element to them. But the goal of a persuasive writing is very different than the goal of an objective piece of writing. And getting the writing skills is particularly important. That's not as big an area as the objective memo, and it's certainly not as broad as the whole area of legal research. But put together, these three legal writing skills consistently make a difference. And when I work with bar takers who failed previously, it's often the case that we have to work on these legal writing skills in order to prepare them to be successful on the exam. Our third step along the path to being successful for the bar is that you need some work experience that gives you practice in the legal and practical applications. Though the study did not indicate that having work experience necessarily changed the results here, I think it's important to understand that what work experience does is give you some context for the kind of writing and study that you need to do. So let's look at that again in a little more detail. When it comes to writing like a lawyer or legal writing for the bar exam, there are several things you need to be aware of. The first, as I already mentioned, is that there's no issue spotting going on. That's a law school affectation. It's not something that attorneys in practice do, and so you don't want to get caught up in issue spotting. And if you have work experience, you're going to learn that very quickly. The second thing is there's no memorization in the practice of law. And even though you might have had to memorize in law school and may have been told to memorize for the bar exam, it simply doesn't happen in practice. And because of that, if you can learn to break yourself of that habit of trying to memorize, you're going to find that you're better off for the bar exam, because now you're not relying on just what you've memorized, but you're actually responding to the material in front of you. It's also important to recognize that when you're writing in a legal practice, you're learning to be direct and concise, and those are skills that are valued by the bar examiners and by the graders. They're not interested in a long, rambling discourse. They're interested in direct and concise writing. Finally, when you're clear and focused, that's when you get the best results in practice. And it's also true for the bar exam. When you're clear and focused, you're going to get the best results. So having the experience of working, whether it's during law school or after law school, in a setting in which you get these skills embedded, makes a big difference. And so I love to work with people that are currently working in some aspect of law, whether it's as a licensed attorney somewhere else or a paralegal or just ancillary to the law, because those individuals typically have this set of skills that they bring to the task. And then our fourth step is that you need bar prep. So you go from core courses to writing classes to work experience, and then you need a more specialized and focused course of study for the bar exam itself. So let's look at what that looks like in Celebration Bar Review's process. When you start, the first thing we do is customize the course so that it makes sense for your particular circumstances. The second step is to learn the law. The third step is to practice. And the fourth step is to add more material and review. When you're learning the law, for us, that comes primarily from outlines and lectures. So you're reading and you're also watching lectures that have the text of the lecture on the screen. So there's repetition built in. And that process goes through all of the subjects that would be tested on your exam. Then the next step is to practice what you're learning, and you do that in two distinct ways. You do it by writing essays in those subjects where there are essay topics, and you do them by taking MBE questions or multiple choice if you're in a jurisdiction like Florida that offers their own multiple choice. So this question practice is not just learning how to take the questions, but it's actually using the questions to help you learn the law. It's an outgrowth of the outlines and lectures. And then once you've done that in each subject, you've got to add on new material and review it. So when it comes to essays, there will be workshops to go through the essays and the writing process. And you can add on writing conferences so that you're getting feedback on your individual work. That objective feedback can be very important and valuable to you. When it comes to the multi-state, you'll have answer explanations for every choice and every question. You'll also have training in something called mind maps. This is a way of taking notes that's a visual representation of the material, much more effective than linear traditional note-taking. And you'll also have simulated tests, the ability to practice exams under time conditions in a randomized setting so that you can see how you're doing and then work to improve. So I think you can see the process of learning here in a bar prep course really follows the natural progression of what you learned in law school. As I said, we've been talking throughout this series of videos about what it takes to be successful, to move from failure into success. We have one more video training to do. In our next video, we're going to talk about the external or the life factors. I hope you'll stick around for that because it's going to be really important. We saved it for the last because it's so critical. If you found this video helpful, what's next? The first thing we would suggest and invite you to do is to visit us at celebrationbarreview.com, where we've got lots more information about all of the subjects that I talked about today, including the process that we use. While you're on the site, we invite you to request our free ebook, How to Study for the Bar Exam. It's a great resource used by thousands of successful students. And I also invite you to schedule a free consultation with me. It's a free call for us to talk about your bar studies and what we can do to help you. And then when you've done all of that, you'll be ready to watch our last video on the series, video number 6. Thanks for being with us today. Hope that this gave you some additional insights and things to think about, and we'll look forward to seeing you in video number 6.